Big Potential: How Transforming the Pursuit of Success Raises Our Achievement, Happiness, and Well-Being, by Shawn Achor. Picture yourself gliding down a river in a small boat, deep in a Southeast Asian jungle. The year is 1935. The air wraps around you like a warm, wet blanket, and as twilight fades, stars begin to pierce the darkness above. No city lights for thousands of miles. A biologist named Hugh Smith, far from his Washington state home, sits quietly, watching this strange new world unfold. He glances toward the mangrove trees along the riverbank, and then something utterly impossible happens. One entire tree suddenly bursts into light, as if struck by lightning from the inside out. Then, darkness. A moment later it glows again, on, off, on, off. And then comes a moment that defies all logic. Every single tree, stretching for 1,000 feet along the river, flashes in perfect, silent harmony. The entire forest pulses with light, like the universe's heartbeat made visible. When Dr. Smith returned home and published his observations of these synchronous fireflies, the scientific community didn't just doubt him, they laughed in his face. They dismissed his account as pure fiction. It seemed to violate everything they knew about biology, mathematics, and physics. Why would fireflies competing for mates all flash at the same moment? Wouldn't that just make each one invisible in the crowd? And how could millions of tiny insects, barely able to see past their own antennae, coordinate with such breathtaking precision? The answer to that mystery unlocks a level of success and happiness that most of us have been told is pure fantasy. It exposes a critical flaw in how we've been taught to chase our dreams. Today, we're exploring Big Potential by Shawn Achor, a book that challenges everything we think we know about achievement. Achor is one of the world's leading happiness researchers, a former Harvard professor whose ideas have transformed millions of lives. But this book reveals that happiness is just the opening act. He argues that our entire society is drunk on a dangerous myth, the myth of the lone genius, the solo superstar, the rugged individual who makes it all happen through sheer willpower. We're taught to be the brightest bulb, to outshine everyone else, to achieve everything on our own. Achor calls this small potential. It's the ceiling of success you hit when you go it alone. But what if, like those fireflies, our true power doesn't come from standing out, but from lighting up together? By the time we're done today, you'll understand the secret of big potential, the exponential success that's only possible when we rise together. You'll discover why the smartest person in the room often isn't the most successful, why dream teams aren't built from superstars, and why helping others shine might be the smartest career move you'll ever make. This isn't some warm and fuzzy feel-good advice. It's a more intelligent, more powerful formula for achievement, and it begins with seeing the invisible web of connections all around us. Let's return to those fireflies for a moment. Decades after Hugh Smith was ridiculed and dismissed, modern science finally cracked the code. Researchers discovered something remarkable. When a male firefly flashes alone in the dark, dense jungle, he has a measly 3% chance of getting a response from a female. 3%. But when they flash together, in that stunning synchronized rhythm, the female response rate skyrockets to 82%. Let that sink in. Their success didn't just improve, it exploded by nearly 30 times. By working as an interconnected system, they became exponentially more successful. They weren't fighting each other over scraps. They were coordinating to create abundance for everyone. By shining together, they built a beacon so powerful it could be seen for miles, attracting even more fireflies to join their constellation of light. This is Shawn Achor's central insight. Our modern approach to success has it completely backwards. The programming starts early. Achor shares a touching moment with his young son, Leo. Whenever Leo mastered a new skill, stacking blocks, tying his shoes, Achor, bursting with parental pride, would exclaim, "You did that all by yourself." Soon, little Leo was proudly announcing after every accomplishment, "All by myself." That moment hit Achor like a lightning bolt. From our very first steps, we're taught that independent achievement is the holy grail. In school, you study alone to outperform your classmates. If you collaborate, they call it cheating. You're ranked, sorted, and labeled based on individual performance. We absorb the message that success is a zero-sum game. For you to win, someone else must lose. We spend the first 20 years of our lives being celebrated for what we can do alone. But then we spend the remaining 60 depending almost entirely on how well we work with others. This creates a massive, jarring disconnect. It's why so many straight-A students, classroom superstars, suddenly flounder when they enter the real world. They've been trained for an individual sport, only to discover that life is actually a team game. Achor witnessed this firsthand during his 12 years at Harvard. He watched some of the world's brightest students arrive on campus and immediately panic. They were no longer the only genius in the room, so they doubled down on the strategy that had always worked. They isolated themselves in the library, worked harder, and tried to outshine everyone around them. The result wasn't brilliance, it was darkness. A shocking 80% of Harvard students experienced depression during their college years. And this isn't just an Ivy League problem. The average age for a first depression diagnosis has plummeted from 29 in the late 1970s to just 14 today. Our obsession with individual achievement is leaving us exhausted, fragile, and desperately lonely. But what if the entire foundation is cracked? What if success isn't about survival of the fittest, but as Achor brilliantly reframes it, survival of the best fit? It's not just about how smart, creative, or driven you are as an individual. It's about how well you connect with, contribute to, and draw strength from the ecosystem of people around you. To test this theory, Achor conducted one of the most comprehensive studies on human potential ever undertaken at Harvard. He gathered data on 1,600 students, tracking everything from SAT scores and family income to sleep patterns and social habits. He was hunting for the perfect formula, the individual traits that predicted success. He found almost nothing. Students with perfect test scores weren't necessarily earning the best grades. Wealthy students weren't happier or more successful than their less privileged peers. But there was one glaring exception, one factor that predicted thriving, both academically and personally, more powerfully than anything else: social connection. The students who felt most interconnected and socially supported were the happiest, the most optimistic, the most resilient under pressure, and the most successful. Success at Harvard, it turned out, had nothing to do with being the lone genius. It was about finding your place within a constellation of stars. This discovery is being replicated at the highest levels of business. Google, a company obsessed with finding patterns in data, launched a massive research initiative called Project Aristotle. Their mission was elegantly simple: build the perfect team. Their first hypothesis seemed obvious. To build a dream team, you fill it with dream players, individual superstars with the highest IQs, the most impressive credentials, the sharpest skills. So Google's data scientists analyzed 180 teams, measuring everything imaginable: personality types, educational backgrounds, intelligence, skill combinations. If it could be tracked, they tracked it. The conclusion was astonishing and echoed exactly what Achor discovered at Harvard. There was no pattern. The individual traits of team members, the who on the roster, didn't predict success at all. The company that's better than any other at finding patterns couldn't find one for individual brilliance in teams. So if the who doesn't matter, what does? Everything came down to the ecosystem. Project Aristotle revealed that the best teams weren't filled with the smartest people. They were teams where members demonstrated high social sensitivity and awareness of each other's feelings and needs. They were teams where everyone contributed roughly equally to conversations, and where everyone felt psychologically safe to share ideas without fear of being shot down. In other words, the smartest group isn't the one with the smartest individuals. It's the one with the highest collective intelligence. Your potential isn't just about you. It's about how well you fit. This brings us to one of the most memorable and visceral stories in the book. It's an experiment by a researcher named William Muir, and it involves chickens. Imagine you're a farmer whose goal is breeding the world's most productive egg-laying chickens. The survival of the fittest approach gives you a crystal-clear strategy. Identify your most productive chickens, the superstar layers, and breed them together. Then take the most productive from that generation and breed them again. Repeat this process over and over until you have a flock of hyper-productive super chickens. That's exactly what Muir did, but he also kept a second group of average chickens and let them breed normally, with no selection for individual productivity. After 7 generations, the results were shocking. The superstar flock was an absolute disaster. The hyper-productive chickens had become so viciously competitive that they'd literally pecked each other to death. Only 3 survived, and they were battered, featherless, and traumatized. The average group? They were thriving, healthy, fully feathered, and producing 160% more eggs than the so-called MVPs. Muir's insight was revolutionary. When a group focuses exclusively on individual competition, they waste all their energy maintaining a brutal pecking order. But when they cooperate and support each other, that energy transfers into production. Everyone wins. Our schools and companies are often designed exactly like that first group of chickens. We rank employees on curves, celebrate the top salesperson, give the valedictorian speech. We create environments where people believe they must claw their way to the top. The result isn't a team of superstars. It's a team of stressed, featherless chickens who are massively underperforming. The alternative is what Achor calls the virtuous cycle. It's the engine that powers big potential. A vicious cycle is when one negative thing triggers another, spiraling downward into darkness. But a virtuous cycle spirals upward. When you help someone else succeed, it doesn't diminish your own success. It creates more resources, more energy, and more opportunities that flow back to you, fueling even greater success for everyone involved. Making others better becomes the fastest path to making yourself better. This shift in mindset, from small potential to big potential, sits at the heart of the book. And to help us make that shift, Achor offers a practical framework he calls the 5 seeds of big potential. A seed, after all, can't grow in isolation. It needs sunlight, soil, and water. Similarly, you can't grow your potential alone. You need the ecosystem around you. Let's plant those seeds. The first seed is surround. Surround yourself with a constellation of positive influencers. We often imagine we need to be the lone superstar, burning brighter than everyone else. But Achor argues that the real goal isn't to be a single, isolated star. It's to be a superstar within a constellation. The main ingredient of individual stardom is actually the rest of the team. He shares a deeply personal story about his own battle with depression at Harvard. On the surface, he was crushing every measure of success: Ivy League school, military scholarship, academic honors. But inside, he was drowning in loneliness and isolation, trying to accomplish everything all by himself. His depression grew directly from this mindset. The turning point arrived when he finally reached out. He dropped the pretense that everything was perfect and opened up to 12 of his closest friends and family members, admitting he needed help. Their support came immediately and powerfully, but something even more profound happened. They started opening up to him about their own struggles, creating a depth of connection he'd never experienced. His depression lifted, not because he became stronger in isolation, but because he built a stronger support system around himself. The height of your potential is determined by the quality of people surrounding you. To build this system, Achor says we need 3 types of people. 1. Pillars. These are your foundation, the people who support you unconditionally no matter what storms hit. 2. Bridges. These are your connectors. They link you to new people, fresh ideas, and opportunities beyond your current circle. 3. Extenders. These are your challengers. They possess different skills or perspectives and push you beyond your comfort zone. By intentionally cultivating a diverse network of these positive influencers, You create a super bounce for your potential, where everyone lifts each other higher. The second seed is expand. Expand your power by helping others lead from every seat. So many of us believe leadership is a title. You're either a manager, a CEO, a director, or you're not a leader. This is classic small potential thinking. Big potential recognizes that true power isn't hoarded at the top. It's distributed throughout the entire system. Achor shares a remarkable story from Kaiser Permanente, a massive healthcare organization. They launched a program called I Saved a Life. The concept was simple but revolutionary. Empower all hospital employees, even those without medical training, to provide care. They trained receptionists and call center staff to do more than just schedule appointments. When a patient called for any reason, say an earache, the representative would check if they were overdue for preventative screenings, like a mammogram. If they were, the representative would offer to book it right then. The results were nothing short of extraordinary. Of the 179 women diagnosed with breast cancer in their hospitals after launching the program, a staggering 40% had scheduled that life-saving mammogram based on a suggestion from non-medical staff. In total, the program was credited with saving 471 lives. Receptionists, people who never step foot in an operating room, became heroes. Why? Because the organization expanded the definition of who could lead. They empowered people to create change from whatever seat they occupied. When you believe only certain people have the power to make a difference, you shut off your own potential. But when everyone in the system feels ownership, there's no ceiling on what can be achieved. The third seed is enhance. Enhance your resources by becoming a prism of praise and recognition. Praise is one of the most powerful and renewable resources we possess, yet we use it completely wrong. We treat it like a scarce commodity, something to hoard. We believe that for us to receive recognition, we need to keep it to ourselves. Achor tells the story of Sarah, a lawyer competing against a colleague for a single partner position at her firm. Her mentor's advice was brutal. It's either you or her. In her first interviews, she led with her individual accomplishments, highlighting what made her special. But it felt hollow and wrong. In her next meeting, when a partner praised her for a successful project, she tried something different. She thanked him, but then immediately praised the junior associate, who'd worked around the clock for 3 days to help her succeed. Then she praised her competitor, Karen, calling her one of the sharpest lawyers she'd ever known. She walked out terrified she'd just torpedoed her chances. A month later, the senior partner called her in. She got the position. He told her that while both candidates were brilliant, Sarah's willingness to shine light on others was the deciding factor. He said, "You made partner because you're not only good, you're good for the firm." She acted as a prism of praise. A prism doesn't just absorb light, it refracts it, enhances it, and makes it more beautiful. When you shine the spotlight on others, you don't diminish your own light. You amplify it for the entire system. To do this effectively, Achor warns us to stop one of our most common habits, comparison praise. When we say, "You were the best presenter today," or "Your work was better than Jack's," we're not actually praising. We're comparing. We're trying to lift one person up by pushing another down. This reinforces the toxic zero-sum game of small potential. Instead, praise the process, praise the effort, and praise the base, the support system that makes excellence possible. Celebrate the person who made the assist, not just the one who scored the goal. The fourth seed is defend. Defend your system against negative influences. Achieving big potential doesn't mean living in some fantasy world free of problems. Sadness, anger, and fear aren't the enemy. They're actually useful. They signal that something needs attention or change. The true opposite of joy isn't sadness. It's apathy, the loss of energy to even care. The goal isn't eliminating negativity, but defending your system from being overwhelmed by it. Stress, Achor explains, is like secondhand smoke. Research shows that simply being near someone who's stressed can spike your own cortisol levels by 26%. You can literally catch stress from others, like a contagious disease. So how do you defend yourself? Achor offers several powerful strategies. One is building a moat. Just as the castle of Mont Saint-Michel was protected by tidal waters, you can create a tidal moat in your daily routine. His rule is beautifully simple. No media before breakfast, and no media before bed. No news, no email, no social media. Why this matters? Just 3 minutes of negative news first thing in the morning increases your likelihood of reporting your entire day as unhappy by 27%, 6 to 8 hours later. By protecting your most vulnerable moments, when you first wake and right before sleep, you build a defense that shields your entire day. Another powerful defense is mental Aikido. Aikido is a martial art where you don't block attacks. You use their energy and redirect their momentum. You can do the same with stress. Instead of fighting stress head-on, recognize that behind every stressor is something you deeply care about. You're not stressed about spam filling your inbox. You're stressed because it's full of important emails from people who matter. You stress because you care. By asking yourself, why does this matter to me, you reconnect with the meaning behind the stress. This transforms the stressor from a threat that paralyzes you into a challenge that energizes you. The fifth and final seed is sustain. Sustain your gains by creating collective momentum. We've all experienced this. Attending an inspiring conference or workshop, feeling absolutely fired up, then returning to your desk and watching that energy slowly drain away like water through your fingers. Achor reminds us of Newton's first law of motion. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. The friction of daily life is that outside force. Without a positive force constantly pushing forward, momentum will inevitably grind to a halt. That positive force is collective momentum, the energy that comes from shared vision and shared celebration. Achor shares a beautiful story about Brian O'Connor, a fifth-grade teacher. To inspire his students, he has them watch CNN Heroes, a show profiling ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The students then write heartfelt letters to these heroes, thanking them and inviting them to join a Skype party. When students celebrate these real-world heroes, something magical happens. They start becoming heroes themselves. The heroes' stories provide what Achor calls a vivid direction, a clear, inspiring picture of a meaningful future. That shared vision acts like a magnet, pulling the entire class's energy toward the same positive destination. This is the power of visualization, but it's not just daydreaming. Research demonstrates that the more vividly and specifically we can imagine a positive future, the more our brain automatically orients itself to take the actions needed to reach it. And finally, to sustain momentum, we must celebrate the wins, both big and small. Celebrations aren't just rewards for crossing the finish line, they're the fuel that gets us there. When a team celebrates together, it reinforces their shared identity and re-energizes everyone for the next challenge. These 5 seeds, surround, expand, enhance, defend, and sustain, work together to create a powerful, virtuous cycle. They lift the invisible ceiling that small potential places on us and open up a world of achievement that's bigger, brighter, and far more meaningful than anything we could accomplish alone. The journey begins with a simple shift in perspective. Stop asking, "How successful can I be?" and start asking, "How successful can we be?" Because, as the fireflies showed us, the brightest light is always the one we share. As we wrap up our journey through big potential, it's worth reflecting on why this message feels so crucial right now. We're living in a fascinating paradox. We're more technologically connected than any generation in human history, yet loneliness rates have never been higher. We have access to more information about success than ever before, yet burnout, stress, and anxiety have become defining features of modern work and education. Shawn Achor's book offers a powerful diagnosis for this modern condition. We've been chasing the wrong prize. We've been sold a vision of success that's individualistic, competitive, and ultimately isolating. We've been trying to win a team sport by playing solo. The most profound lesson from this book, for me personally, is the redefinition of strength. Our culture equates strength with rugged individualism, the ability to handle everything alone, to never need anyone. But Big Potential teaches us that true strength lives in connection. It's the courage to ask for help, the wisdom to celebrate others, and the leadership to empower everyone around you. Resilience isn't about how much you can endure alone, it's about how you recharge, and we recharge through connection with others. This isn't a call to abandon personal ambition, it's a call to pursue it more intelligently. The book doesn't say you can't be exceptional, it says you can't be exceptional alone. Your talent, your intelligence, your drive, these still matter enormously, but they're amplifiers, not solo instruments. Their true power only unlocks when you plug them into the ecosystem around you. So how do we start living this today? It can feel overwhelming, but transformation always begins with a single small action. Here are 3 simple ways to start planting the seeds of big potential in your life right now. First, practice the 2-minute praise. Tomorrow morning, before diving into your work, take just 2 minutes to send one email or text to someone, a friend, family member, or colleague, praising or thanking them for something specific they did. This simple act accomplishes 2 things. It immediately strengthens a connection in your social ecosystem, and it trains your brain to scan the world for positive contributions. Second, reframe your next stressor with mental aikido. The next time stress hits, whether from a looming deadline, a difficult conversation, or an overwhelming schedule, pause and ask yourself, why does this matter to me? By connecting the stress to a deeper value or meaning, you transform it from a threat that drains you into a challenge that fuels you. Third, share the credit. The next time you achieve something, no matter how small, make a point to publicly and specifically thank one person who helped you get there. Instead of absorbing praise like a black hole, become a prism, shine that light outward. You'll not only make someone feel valued, but you'll reinforce the truth that success is always a shared victory. The book closes with a beautiful story about the Maasai warriors of Kenya. When they greet each other, they don't ask, "How are you?" They ask something more important, "How are the children?" The traditional response, whether you have children or not, is always, "All the children are well." This greeting holds deep, ancient wisdom. It recognizes that the well-being of any individual is inseparably linked to the well-being of the entire community. Things can't truly be good for one of us unless they're good for all of us. This is the beating heart of Big Potential. That was our exploration of Big Potential by Shawn Achor. We've covered the core concepts today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It shows you the landscape, but it can't replace the experience of actually walking the trails, meeting the people, and breathing the air. The real power of this book lives in the stories and science that bring these ideas to vivid life. If any of the concepts we've discussed, from the synchronous fireflies to the featherless chickens to the power of becoming a praise prism, have sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's an opportunity to fundamentally transform how you approach your life, your work, and your relationships. The link is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us know we're heading in the right direction and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another transformative book. Let's keep learning and growing together.